Hello and welcome back. I'm Benny Victory. Today's video I feel is very crucial and one that has to be addressed early on when we sit down and have a conversation. I've already shared with you that I see our working together as a collaboration, not in opposition of each other. And we've talked about how in the first meeting, the second meeting, and even the overview of both meetings, ours is one of trying to discover what your needs are. I liken it to pulling back the curtain so that we could identify your unique problems, needs, and issues. Sometimes when clients come in, we sit down and I go over the other instances and other concerns that other seniors have that we solve. They see themselves in the other client. But I also see them hesitant. I see them not wanting to move forward as much as I think they would otherwise if it wasn't something in the back of their head holding them back. And it's almost like they're pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. They're trying to go forward, but they're holding themselves back. And it wasn't until I really sat down and I thought about it and had several conversations with clients that I came to realize that what is holding them back, that hesitation, has to do with something that is fundamental and psychological more than having to do with the program itself. In specific, what I have put here together for you is something that I want you to be mindful of and see if it resonates with you, and when we sit down, if it's something that's in the back of your head. Because if it is, unless and until we address it and we can move on from it, it might hold you back as well. It's almost like when a person goes to therapy, what they're dealing with is not what they're dealing with in the instant. The therapist has to go back and address other concerns and needs that they've had to deal with that was suppressed or they never addressed it. And I guess in a way, I have to play therapist as well. So here's the idea. We know that when we get together, ours is going to be one of collaboration and discovery. We've already established that. But if we're not moving forward, there's a reason. And that reason is what I call a level 2 mentality. The individual may be trapped and have incorrect information in their head, which is keeping them from taking advantage of the opportunities, the benefits, and the features of a reverse mortgage. That usually presents itself in the form of the client having what I call false truths, reverse mortgage myths, and program misconceptions. Any one of these, or all three in certain senses, can hold the client back. For example, some client may have to think in their mind that if I get money from a line of credit or if I get a lump sum in the form of a reverse mortgage, I have to pay taxes on this money and I have to report it. Well, I'm on Social Security or I'm on disability or I'm getting some sort of governmental benefit, and if I suddenly get a line of credit for $200,000, there's a problem. I have to report this as income and I have to pay taxes on it. And if they're thinking like that, that false truth, that myth, or that misconception can keep them from doing what is necessary to help themselves in their retirement and not get the line of credit. Unfortunately, what they're not doing is they're not reaching out and getting the correct information. They're relying on false information, false truths, and then as a result, they have the foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. Even more fundamental and a layer beneath that are people that I call stuck on level 1, which has to do with the negative reverse mortgage history. Reverse mortgages are at this point 34 years old. Unfortunately, because it's not that old of a program, the first 20 years had some growing pains, had some problems that have since been worked out. But the people that are thinking with the history are in a loop in their mind and they're thinking of the program as it used to be rather than what it is now. So if you look at the program now versus what it used to be, And if you look at the past rules compared to what the present rules of the reverse mortgage are, they're night and day different. It's like you almost saying, I have a cell phone that is the old brick Motorola, and I say, I have a cell phone as well, but mine is the new Apple version 11, or whatever number they're up to at this point. I stopped buying a couple of years ago when it reached $1,000. But the point is that if you're thinking that the reverse mortgages that were out 20 years ago are what's being made available today, well, that's another misconception. And that could be in the back of your head, and that could be keeping you from going forward. For example, in the old days, there was no 7-day waiting period before an application could be taken. So that right there is a big change, because when I sit down and we discuss our conversation through our first meeting, our second meeting, and before you could even move forward to take an application, there's a 7-day mandatory period. That 7-day mandatory period is intended to allow you to seek other counsel, talk to other people, get other information, and not feel rushed to make a decision to go forward. Well, the old mortgage didn't have that, but the new one does. Another change could be, for example, the fact that before there was no financial assessment and no credit analysis in underwriting a reverse mortgage. As long as you were old enough and you had equity, they pretty much gave you the mortgage without looking at your credit history to determine your payment history, not so much your credit score, but your payment history. Your payment history could be reflective of your ability to fulfill your timely obligation to pay taxes on time, insurance on time, credit cards on time. Well, the old mortgage didn't take that into account. The new mortgage does. And that could be the difference between someone having to have a mandatory set-aside escrow account to help them to make sure that they don't go over budget. That's a good change to have, not a bad change. Another example could be, for example, before they would give all the money at once to the borrower. And that caused a lot of financial abuse. That caused a lot of financial elder abuse, because the senior would get suddenly $200,000, $300,000, and family members would swoop in and take the money and would leave the senior with no money. And then when it came time to pay taxes and insurance, there was no money to pay. What I'm getting at is that the changes that have taken place were needed and fundamental and have made the program a better program. But if you're still thinking that the old mortgage rules and the false truths and the misconceptions and the myths are what is prevalent in the reverse mortgage that you're considering getting, that could subconsciously keep you from moving forward and taking advantage of a program that is really designed and intended to help you, to have you be able to access a portion of your equity so that you could live and age in place for as long as you live in the house, not having to pay a monthly mortgage payment, which would then allow you to have a substantial amount of cash reserves that you would otherwise have to pay down your mortgage with, and still have cash flow to be able to get other things that you need. For example, long-term disability insurance, which is a lot more crucial at this point for a lot of seniors. So the series of videos that I'm going to be making after this video deal with these issues, deal with the level 2. There's about 20 of them that I've discovered through watching other videos and reading a lot of the blogs about the misconceptions and false truths. And each video will go in depth and address each topic. Same thing with level 1, which is what the history used to be compared to what it is. I hope that you take advantage of this mind shift that I'm trying to present you with, so that when you sit down to consider whether a reverse mortgage is the best option, at least you're not being weighed down with the negativity of what it used to be and the misinformation that is being, unfortunately, peddled out. I look forward to speaking with you. I thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the next video. God bless, and thank you very much.